Hi, continuing today's thought, and today I'm going to be talking about something that I actually meant to talk about a few thoughts ago. The article to which I'll be referring was published actually last week or maybe even the week before, but other things came up and I've been putting it off, so I'm going to talk about it today. But talk about putting things off. Before I get to the thought, I just have to mention I'm recording this was the day before you're seeing it, and shortly after Trump spoke remotely to people at Davos, Davos, Switzerland, World Economic Forum, yada, yada, yada. So he, international business poobahs all, and bank leader, central bank leaders, and actually private bank leaders, actually might have all been private bank leaders. Important people, let's just say important people, elites, we'll just say elites. And Trump spoke and he delivered some remarks and then he took questions. Now, as, we know Trump by now, so he started off by talking about how wonderful he is and he won all 7 swing states. We know to expect that. And then he talked about, more substantive things. I was actually surprised before an international forum that he talked a lot about. He focused mainly on domestic U.S. issues. But, we're Americans, so obviously of great interest to us. But the main thing I just want to point out, whatever he said, whether you agree with it or not, I could not... The whole thing lasted at least an hour. I mean, he made remarks for several minutes, and he took all these questions, detailed questions from all these important, very smart people. And I just asked myself, whether I could imagine Joe Biden doing that. And I don't mean just Joe Biden, the aging Joe Biden, suffering from dementia right now. I'm talking about even Joe Biden when he was in his prime, because he was never obviously I'm old enough to have followed his career, heard several congressional hearings of his speaking, and vice presidential debates, and when under Obama, and he is how you say, not the brightest, the sharpest knife in the drawer. We'll go with that one. And I could not imagine him being able, especially though today, his current condition, being able to handle anything like that. It would have been so embarrassing had he won, or even worse, Kamala Harris answering these questions. I encourage everybody to go, Google it, go on YouTube and just search the Trump's press conference today, or his statement and taking questions at Davos today. It was really the day before you're seeing this, and it's a date you should look for. Very, very good. I was overall pleased, and we should all be pleased, whether you agree with him or not, to have a president who is mentally alert, as he certainly was, and more knowledgeable about world affairs than I expected. Anyways, enough about that. Today's subject is, one of my criticisms of Trump was pressuring, he's supposed to pressure Israel's enemies, such as Hamas, and not pressure Israel, which is an ally. And I've criticized already this hostage deal that Trump apparently pressured Netanyahu to accept. Now, my understanding is that there is a guy named Bezalel Smotrich. He is they call him, extreme right. He's part of the coalition. Netanyahu's governing coalition, and he says he's gotten assurances, not just but in writing from Donald Trump himself, that if this deal is in 3 phases, and if the first phase does not go to Israel's liking, that the green light to resume the war, which it disturbs me a little bit. I mean, we never put this kind of pressure on England. This may be another thought, or France, or any of our other allies in other wars, restricting how forcing them things down their throats that they don't feel is good for them. But I talked also earlier about, is there a way to make lemonade out of lemons? And the lemons being this terrible deal, I think, in my view, and the lemonade being, well, something that could be good and for Israel and work out. And there's one possibility that I mentioned in the past before, my thoughts, but somebody else had a thought. It's actually a news report. So, you know what, let's just go right to it, and then I'll comment. European diplomat: Israel has decided to attack Iran's nuke sites. Report. A senior European diplomat said Israel has already decided it will attack Iran's nuclear sites, implying such an attack was not imminent, but also not in the too distant future. Al Arabiya reported over the weekend. That would be a Saudi newspaper. We believe Israel has taken the decision to attack following the developments in the Middle East over the last several months, one senior European diplomat said, according to the report. Next, the report said the diplomat did not say the attack was believed to be imminent, but said several European countries have opened talks with the incoming Trump administration to check if there is still a chance to use diplomacy or other tools to block Tehran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. And just on that last point, my answer is no. They're hell-bent, especially now since they've lost. Without Hezbollah, without Hamas, without the ability to transfer weapons through Syria, Iran has nothing else. And plus their air defenses having been destroyed by Israel in an earlier attack. They really, if they want to protect themselves, they really have no alternative than to pursue a nuclear weapon. So I predict that the answer to that question is no, but I could be wrong depending on how much pressure is put on Iran now that under Trump, of course, all the sanctions will come back, and that hopefully that will be enough pressure, and maybe it'll be enough to make the Iranian people finally rise up. But what I want to get to today, though, is we have this ceasefire, and the question I have now, based on this article, is whether Israel would use this ceasefire, interregnum. That's the term I use in the title to this thought, interregnum, because that's really what it is. It's inevitable. This is another thought for another day. I don't want to make this too long, but this is a religious war. Hezbollah and the Houthis too, and Hamas, they're motivated totally by religion, and their religious belief, what they believe, calls on them to destroy Israel. They will never stop, and I will do a little aside here, because there is something, they derive all their guidance from the Quran and from the doings and the sayings of Muhammad. Now, there was a very famous battle when in the early days of Islam, Muhammad had been forced to flee Mecca for Medina, and then he gathered an army, and then he eventually came back to attack Mecca, and he wasn't strong enough to attack Mecca, to defeat Mecca, to take Mecca, and so he made a 10-year truce called Hudna. So he made a 10-year Hudna with the inhabitants of Mecca, but as soon as he was strong enough, he broke. 2 years into the Hudna, he felt he was strong, and it turned out it was true. He was strong enough to take Mecca, and he immediately violated the agreement, and the Hudna, the truce, and he took Mecca. So you can be sure that you can always rely on this. When these jihadists only agrees to a truce or to anything stopping a battle if they're losing, okay? They will never agree to anything if they're winning. So if they agreed, right now, this agreement with Israel, it's because they've been almost completely destroyed. They were losing, that's why they did it. But as soon as if a time comes when they feel strong enough, they will attack again. And they don't care. I don't know why the world doesn't understand this international community. They're going to pay, they could end up spending billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars to rebuild Gaza, and it will all be destroyed because Hamas doesn't care about that, and they will attack Israel again, and Israel will attack, will destroy everything again, and rinse and repeat. Hopefully this time, well, that's another question for another thought for another day. Is Donald Trump expecting Israel to have to wait until Hamas breaks the truce and attacks Israel, or if they see the preparations for an attack, can they take preemptive action and not have to wait to be attacked? Trump hasn't said anything about that. We'll have to see what happens there. But if Israel, this is the thought now, use this time, so that's why I call it an interregnum. It means time in between. It's a time in between the two wars, because there's going to be another one. Now, what can Israel do at this time? Well, they can rest, R&R, rest and recuperate, rebuild their stockpiles, and now they're getting all the weapons that from Trump that Biden had denied. But if they were to attack Iran's nuclear sites or project, this would be the perfect time to do it. Perfect time to do it. Number one, because they don't have to worry about Hezbollah. They don't have to worry about Hamas. So much they've all, even the Houthis, they decided and Iran has no defenses, so this would be the perfect time to attack. Why wait for any of these people to try to rebuild? And another complaint about Trump now is Israel. There's this 60-day truce with Hezbollah, or a ceasefire, whatever you want to call it. And then the Israelis are supposed to leave, and they say, well, Lebanon Lebanon is not living up to its side of the agreement, which is Hezbollah has to be, all of them, and all their weapons have to be north of the Litani River, about 20 miles north of Israel. And then the Lebanese army is supposed to come in and secure the area. And the Lebanese army is not coming in. They're dragging their feet. And so Israel is saying that they don't want to leave after 60 days if the agreement has not been lived up to by Hezbollah and Lebanon. But they said but what I've been reading, Israelis are getting pressure from the Trump administration to leave at the end of those 60 days, no matter what's happening in Lebanon. And Israel is asking if they can have 30 more days. And that bothers me. Israel is an ally, and it's a sovereign nation. And why do they need anybody's permission to do what's right for their country? So I'll talk about this in another thought, I guess. But Israel, if you're listening, my advice to any Israelis out there is, and it's a small country, so you might know Netanyahu personally, tell him you've got to develop your own arms industry for everything, all the way up to stealth bombers, everything that you need to defend yourself, so that you don't have to rely on any other country, including the United States. And it's good for the United States too, because we would no longer have to help Israel militarily. We already don't help them. We used to give them just regular foreign aid. We don't do that anymore. It's all military. Anyways, I'll end on this. If the Israelis attack during this interregnum, during this ceasefire, well, if Hezbollah or Hamas, especially Hamas, if they fire a single, if they do what the Houthis were doing and are doing, and start firing missiles at, rockets at Israel, well, if Hamas does that breaks a ceasefire. So the Israelis attack Iran and warn the Hamas, warn Hamas and Hezbollah. Hezbollah is not really a threat anymore. They're 20 miles north, but Hamas, if you lift a finger to come to help Iran, that breaks a ceasefire, and we will be on you like a ton of bricks, which I think they should be on anyway. Get this first phase over, get as many hostages out as you can. There's supposed to be 33, and then that's it. Go for broke, because otherwise, and then you could weaken Hamas even more, and then you can make another deal and another, and just do what Hamas wants to do. You can drag it out until you get all the hostages back. We're just going and defeat everybody, and you'll have a much freer hand with Trump in the White House, not to mention Mike Huckabee as ambassador, and Marco Rubio as the Secretary of State, and hopefully, it hasn't been confirmed yet, Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense. Pete Hegseth, who said, asked about his policy, regarding Hamas in the Middle East, and he said, my policy is for Israel to kill every single member of Hamas. So I would expect some pretty good backing from Pete Hegseth, and he was the one who would be responsible mostly for coordinating with the Israelis militarily. So that's my thought for today. Thanks for stopping by. If you could subscribe, that would really be great. Comments always welcome in the comments section below this video. Share this video with anyone you think would benefit from it. But most of all, come back and see me again. I would love to see all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.